Assalamu alaikum, I'm Aisha and you're watching Samaa News. Here are today's headlines. Pakistan and Afghanistan are heading to Turkey for a second round of crisis talks, scheduled for today. The ceasefire brokered by Qatar and Turkey last week has largely held, but the border remains closed, halting trade and leaving Afghan traders counting heavy losses. The Foreign Office says today's talks will largely focus on establishing a concrete and verifiable monitoring mechanism to curb terrorism emanating from Afghan soil toward Pakistan. The FO spokesperson called the ceasefire deal a key step for regional stability and urged Afghanistan to honour its commitments and prevent its soil from being used against Pakistan. The US has imposed sanctions on Colombian President Gustavo Petro as President Donald Trump sharply escalated a feud with Washington's longtime Latin American ally over accusations that Petro has refused to stop the flow of cocaine into the United States. The US military has ratcheted up activity in the southern Caribbean, striking vessels in international waters that it has alleged, without evidence, are carrying drugs. Pakistan has reaffirmed its commitment to building a just and prosperous world as the United Nations marks 80 years since its founding. In a statement, Foreign Minister Ishaq said Pakistan stands firmly with the UN in promoting peace, development and climate action, and called multilateral cooperation the key to addressing global challenges. Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro has accused the United States of fabricating a war, following Washington's decision to deploy the USS Gerald R. Ford, the world's largest aircraft carrier, towards the Caribbean. Calling the move a deliberate act of provocation in Latin America, Maduro says the US promised never to get involved in another war, and yet they are fabricating a new, eternal war. Russian President Vladimir Putin's aide Kirill Dmitriev has said that Moscow, Washington and Kiev are quite close to reaching a diplomatic breakthrough to end the ongoing war in Ukraine. Dmitriev insists that a summit between Putin and US President Donald Trump has not been cancelled, contrary to earlier statements from Trump. Separately, President Putin has called the new US sanctions on Russian oil companies an unfriendly act that harms the recent recovery in bilateral ties. Speaking to reporters, Putin said the proposed leaders' meeting in Budapest was suggested by Washington, but must be carefully prepared. He added that while the sanctions may have some impact, Russia will not bow to pressure and remains committed to dialogue over confrontation. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has called on allies to impose full sanctions on Russian oil companies, its shadow fleet, and oil terminals to cut Moscow's war funding. He also urged allies in the coalition of the willing to boost Kyiv's long-range strike capabilities to pressure Moscow into negotiations. European Union leaders at the meeting agreed to support Ukraine's financial needs for the next 2 years, but delayed a decision on using frozen Russian assets. Moscow, meanwhile, warned of a painful response if its funds are seized. That's all for now. For more updates, visit www.samaa.tv. Thank you for watching Samaa News.